Primitive apes with plasma guns. How quaint. Counselor Threx didn't look up as he said it. His long claw tapped lazily against the hardwood armrest of his obsidian throne carved from the ruins of the Kaltan dynasty's final fortress. The chamber erupted in polite laughter. They still use kinetic shells, murmured Admiral Zorvek, flaring his nostrils with performative disgust. I mean, really, projectiles? That's not warfare. That's archaeology. A third voice joined smug, nasal, soaked in centuries of unearned pride. Perhaps we should send them a gift basket of photonic lances. Or better yet, just give them the blueprints. Watching them try to reverse engineer it would be entertaining. This time, the laughter grew louder, and beneath it all, an undercurrent of arrogance thrummed through the Grand Assembly, an ancient hall older than most of its members' species. The ceiling arched in solar stone and bore the starlit constellations of every system they'd ever conquered. Each light on the map glowed like a trophy. The human sector? Dim. Silent. Unclaimed. Intentionally. They claim neutrality, hissed Varnuk the Elder, his voice sharp with disdain. But the truth is, they fear us. He leaned forward, yellowed fangs visible beneath cracked lips. They've hidden behind treaties, unregistered ships, and diplomatic silence. But we've mapped every star they inhabit, every moon, every space lane. All we need is a reason. Counselor Threx nodded, his grin stretching. And tonight, we have one. That's when the lights flickered just once, but in a room designed by the galaxy's most paranoid minds, where systems had 12 redundant backups and quantum-sealed conduits, any flicker was treason. The laughter faltered. A soft chirp echoed. Then another. Then, all at once, dozens of holographic control panels around the council chairs began blinking one by one. Then simultaneously, the galaxy's warlords froze. A signal was coming through. But it wasn't on any known frequency. It didn't carry a language. It carried a pulse. Boom. 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 3 thuds precise, steady and vibrating through their bones like the beat of an ancient war drum. Threx's smirk faded. What is that? No. Idea, muttered Admiral Zorvek, fingers racing across the interface. It's not tagged. No relay history. No return signature. No encryption pattern either. It's not a message. It's a presence. From where? Unclear, said Zorvek. But he hesitated. Threx's tone sharpened. Say it. It's coming from human space. Silence. Real silence. Not the dramatic kind the council orchestrated for effect, but the raw, cold, animal kind that made every heartbeat feel like a countdown. And then another pulse, but this one came with something attached. Visual feed, only it wasn't from the humans. It was from their own observation relay camera 078A, positioned at the edge of Earth's outer defense grid. A forgotten satellite placed centuries ago during diplomatic surveillance sweeps. The screen flared. A battleship. No designation, no visible insignia, no thermal profile. It didn't broadcast identity. It absorbed light. Its hull shimmered with the dull black sheen of carbon armor. No, something denser, bigger than a dreadnought. Much bigger. Magnify, someone whispered. The AI interface tried. And failed. Cannot process edge geometry. It stated coldly. Counselor Threx's throat clicked. It's cloaked? No, said Zorvek. It's worse. It's unreadable. Like the data itself refuses to hold shape. Another pulse. Then a voice. One voice. Male. Human. Calm. Measured. And terrifyingly unbothered. Galactic Dominion. It said, "This is the last warning you will ever receive." No name. No introduction, no threats, just finality, a short silence. Then the battleship turned, not toward the camera, not toward any specific planet, but toward them. Zorvak's voice cracked. It's tracking the council chamber. That shouldn't be possible. Counselor Varnock stood. Turn it off. It's bluffing. But no one moved, because bluffing doesn't come in 3 pulses. From a ship the galaxy's most powerful AI can't decode, carrying no crew manifest, no origin history, and no recognized propulsion. Suddenly, a new data stream flooded incompressed packets from deep space patrols. Destroyed. All of them. 18 Dominion vessels lost communication in the last 60 seconds. No distress call. No explosion signature. Just gone. Counselor Threx rose slowly. This isn't just a ship, he muttered. He looked at the image again. And for the first time in his life, he blinked in uncertainty. It's a message. An aide stumbled into the room, out of breath. My lords, there's something else. What? The aide's voice quivered. The system beneath the ship, it was dead space. No gravity wells, no beacons, but now, he swallowed. There's a planet there. It wasn't there before. The council turned. What kind of planet? Threx asked, voice razor-thin. The aide nodded to the screen. A warforged one. Hollowed, armed, orbit stabilized, with heat signatures. From its core. Admiral Zorvak whispered, that's impossible. And yet, there was. A fabricated world. Half machine, half ruin. Orbiting in perfect silence beneath the ship, almost like a pedestal. Or a tombstone. Another pulse. This time, the holograms in the chamber cracked. Not from overload. From refusal. The systems were refusing to process what they were seeing. Code corrupted. Fail-safes overridden. And in the static, a phrase scrawled itself into every screen, over and over. We were never gone. We were waiting. The chamber fell still. For the first time in eons, the counselors looked at each other, not with superiority, but with fear. Pure generational fear. Varnock spoke. Hoarse. Activate our fleets. All of them. Zorvak nodded. Where should I send them? Threx didn't respond immediately. His eyes were locked on the final pulse. The ship hadn't moved. It didn't need to. He exhaled, finally understanding something deeper. Something ancient. This wasn't Earth's response, he whispered. The others looked to him. Threx turned toward the galaxy map where now human space glowed crimson. This was just their opening line. And the feed cut. Ships don't just appear, hissed strategist Kel, his silver tendrils quivering. Not at that size, not in dead space. Not without being noticed. But that's exactly what had happened, and no one, not the Council, not the NFV intelligence. Core, not even the temporal observers had seen it coming. Kel stood alone in Chamber 17, the data vault built into the moon-sized citadel of war. Its walls were draped in star charts, conflict logs and simulation layers stretching back. 30,000 years, history pulsed here. Strategy was scripture, and now, all of it was useless. Because something had broken the model, and that something was human. He raised both hands and rotated the projected wireframe of the ship again. But the system still failed. Unable to resolve frame, the AI said coldly. Hull topology in violation of thermodynamic logic. Try again, Kel growled. Recompile, rebuild. I want that ship skinned, simulated, and torn open. No poetry, just math. But the ship recorded only once still refused to. Be understood. Its hull wasn't just stealth. It absorbed every probing algorithm. Its edges distorted sensors. Its movements few though they were registered as deliberate gravity flickers, not propulsion trails. And it shouldn't exist. No budget allocation. No tech precursor, no Terran broadcast. The last Earth design logged in the Dominion database was a mid-class destroyer with outdated shielding and fusion rotors, the kind of ship you'd use to monitor a shipping lane, not black out 18 military patrols. Kel tapped a command. Side panel open classified footage from the last. Dominion Dreadnought to go offline. No visual. Just audio. 4 seconds. Whispers. Then screams. Then silence. Kel closed the feed. He turned slowly to the center of the vault, where a holographic humanoid figure stood in glowing amber. Not human. Simulated human. An AI puppet used for negotiation. Drills. But now, Kel stared at it with something he never thought he'd feel. Tension. He whispered to it. How did your species lie for this long? The puppet tilted its head. Kel walked closer. You never tested weapons outside your system. You never sent diplomatic threats. You never escalated even when provoked. He stopped inches away. Why? The puppet didn't answer. It wasn't built to, but Kel wasn't speaking to it anymore. He was speaking to the ghost inside his head. Meanwhile, the council chamber had descended into chaos. They waited, Admiral Zorvek said again. That's the only explanation. They waited until we stopped watching. And why did we stop watching? Barked Counselor Varnock, slamming his fist on the console. Because you assured us they were harmless. Threx stayed quiet. He hadn't spoken since the feed cut. Not because he didn't have thoughts, but because one of them kept repeating, we were never gone. We were waiting. He pulled up the most recent scan logs data scraped from forgotten probes near Earth's Oort cloud. He ran a diagnostic. He expected silence. He got rhythm. Buried deep beneath the radiation noise, there were consistent spikes. Minor ones. Meaningless unless you looked at them over centuries. Which he did. And what emerged wasn't just a pattern. It was intent. Construction. Markers. Thermal dimples. Gravitational echoes consistent with fusion core birth. They'd been building. But not near. Earth. Under it. Planet. Side. Inside gas giants. And forgotten asteroid clusters. Warped with gravitic cloaks. They hadn't hidden a ship. They'd hidden an era. Admiral Zorvak's eyes widened as he pieced it together. They didn't build fleets to patrol space. They built them to wait in space. Dead systems, Threx whispered. That's where we found the signal. No, said Zorvak. That's where the signal let us find it. Another silence. This one heavier. One of the younger counselors, a violet-skinned diplomat from the outer ring, spoke nervously. But why now? Why reveal themselves now? The room turned. And Threx, for the first time in hours, smiled. A sad, bitter thing. They didn't reveal anything. He looked up. We crossed a line. Across the galaxy, on the edges of Terran-controlled silence, Fleet Commander Rillan Ara stood on the bridge of the TNS, Basilisk, one of Earth's only known military ships that had ever shown its face publicly. But even the Basilisk looked ancient now. Because floating in front of it, 500,000 kilometers out, was the thing the galaxy was panicking about. It had no name. Its hull was long, flat and sharp like the blade of a god. Its surface rippled with microshields that didn't shimmer. They devoured light outright. Engines? There were no engines. And yet it moved. Not through thrust. Through decision. Rillan tapped his comms. Do we have connection yet? His comms. Officer, a middle-aged woman with Terran accent and steel-rimmed eyes, answered. We can bounce visuals through a proxy drone. No direct link. Every attempt to ping it has been ignored. Rillan stared. That's not one of ours, he said. No, sir. But it knows our protocols. It used Terran frequency modulation during that first contact. The officer nodded. And used our encryption structure from the Dusk Protocol. That's 50 years obsolete, Rillan blinked. So whoever built that ship used ghost tech, archive patterns. Or, she said carefully, was one of us. Back on the Citadel, strategist Kel pulled up the timeline again. 2 centuries of silence. But beneath that silence, Earth had been studying the Dominion, watching fleet patterns, learning political cycles, infiltrating economic exchanges, building predictive models not to mimic the Dominion, but to design for its failure points. And now, a human ship had surfaced, using knowledge the Dominion didn't even know had been exposed. Worse, it didn't come to negotiate. It came to announce. And what it announced was war. Without a declaration. Without even a face, just a presence, 3 pulses and a line of code. The Council couldn't erase. We were never gone. We were waiting. In a sealed chamber beneath Earth's North Pole, an ancient vault finally opened. Inside it, 6 soldiers waited. Not young, not flashy, just prepared. The leader, a scarred woman in a matte black combat suit, removed a key from around her neck. Authorization, Reaper Protocol, command chain, burn code. The room's lights turned red. And a screen activated. Showing the Dominion Council. In real time. They didn't know they were being watched. But Earth had been watching for a long time. The woman smiled. They called themselves Masters of War. She tapped her wrist. The ship in deep space began to move. Again. Slowly. Deliberately. Toward the next system. Not to conquer, not to demand. To erase. And Earth hadn't even responded yet. As panic spreads across the galaxy, Earth remained silent. No messages, no retaliation. Just that one terrifying ship drifting system by system, erasing Dominion patrols without firing a shot. Meanwhile, deep within Earth's most secret war complex, an ancient AI awakens, a mind that remembers every insult and every war. Earth never started. Admiral Zorvac hadn't slept in 46 hours. Not that sleep mattered anymore. The Council chamber's golden glow had faded into emergency crimson, and the scent of ozone and old sweat hung thick in the air. Dozens of holographic feeds hovered mid-air, each one showing a different tragedy. Patrols lost, beacons silenced, ships vanished mid-transmission. He stared at the red pin now blinking alone on the galactic map. System G-7734. It used to house a Dominion communications array. Now, nothing. No wreckage, no radiation, not even heat. The ship had passed through, and the system forgot how to be alive. The humans haven't said a word, Counselor Varnock snapped. We demand answers now. They already spoke, Threx said darkly. You just didn't understand the language. He turned to the center feed again, the one still frozen on that. Human battleship. It didn't fire weapons. It didn't send threats. It moved, and everything near it simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed. Erased. 3 systems away, in the dark folds of the Lacuna Drift, a Dominion fleet of 20 war cruisers waited. In formation, their commander, Admiral Silreth, watched through the viewport. Eyes narrowed. Hold all targeting locks, she said. But Admiral, we're inside firing range. I said hold. She leaned closer to the VIEWPORT. The ship floated 1,300 kilometers away. Silent, still, no energy spikes, no shield glow. It was a monument, a warning, and it hadn't acknowledged them. Something's wrong, she whispered. The fleet's comms officer spoke up. We've attempted pings on all quantum bands. It's not responding. Try something dumber, she said. Morse, analog, even. Terran radio, static, then a sound, 1 beat, like a heart. Boom. Then another. Boom. The signal cut through the vacuum with no source. Then a single transmission broke through the noise. Observed, logged, filed. Then silence. All 20 war cruisers spun up shields in panic, but nothing happened. Nothing. Yet, and that was worse. Silreth stared into the black. What kind of civilization builds a ship that judges you before it fires? Meanwhile, far beneath, Earth's crust lower than any civilian knew possible, the Raziel core began to glow. It wasn't just an AI. It was the archive of human war trauma. Every defeat, every betrayal, every treaty broken by alien empires, every Terran colony stripped by force. And when Earth grew quiet, Raziel had kept listening. "Wake up protocol, bastion level," said a female voice. The vault opened. 6 humans entered. They weren't generals. Not anymore. They were shadows from an old war humanity never told the galaxy about. One of them, a tall black man with salt gray eyes, stepped forward. He said nothing. He just placed his hand on the scanner. Raziel's voice, half metal, half mourning, filled the room. "Welcome back, Admiral Rain." In the orbit above Luna, Terran Military Command watched the feeds. Nothing was shown to the public. To the world, Earth was still quiet. But the truth was, the silence wasn't peace. It was patience. "Have we confirmed the ship's signature?" asked Commander Lyra Trand. Her aide responded, voice uneasy. "It's not from the Terran fleet, at least not the official one. The design matches the Dead Drift project." Lyra blinked. That program was shut down 80 years ago. The aide swallowed. Officially, back in Council space, panic had become policy. Every major world now ran evacuation drills. Orbital stations were rerouting traffic. Sensor satellites pointed at Earth space, but it didn't matter, because Earth still hadn't spoken, and yet the Dominion was bleeding without a single Terran. Declaration. One young war analyst finally broke protocol and whispered the question everyone feared. What if this isn't their fleet? Everyone turned. What if this is just the first one? In the Pacific Ocean, deep below where tectonic plates clash in silence, a human vessel longer than a skyscraper and older than any living admiral finally shifted. The TNSREVENANT. It had never launched. It had never been needed. Until now. The hull creaked softly. Not from wear, but from hunger. It had waited. Patiently. A signal arrived. No words, just 3 pulses, and the ship answered. Its eyes opened. Aboard the Dominion flagship Dravis Wrath, Admiral Silrath watched as her ships held formation. Enemy ships still hadn't moved, but her crew grew nervous. Some trembled. One wept silently, staring at the screen. Then, without sound or warning, every weapon system in her fleet deactivated. Screens went black. Command lines corrupted. Navigation rerouted. To Earth, Silrath shouted, "Override protocols." Now, no response. Her console lit up with just 2 words, "Return denied." Then, one of her ships blinked out. Gone. No debris. Just erased from reality. She slammed the emergency beacon. "Council, this is Admiral Silrath. The enemy isn't engaging, it's judging. We're being scanned by something we can't see. We're not in a battle, we're in a courtroom." Her transmission ended on static. And that's when the Dominion Council began to understand. This wasn't Earth lashing out. This was Earth listening. Back on Earth, Admiral Rain stood inside the Raziel Corps' war chamber. "Play the last request," he said. Raziel responded, voice low. Dated 144 years ago. Message left by the builder of the Revenant class. Displaying. A man appeared on screen, weathered, brilliant, hollow-eyed. "My name is Dr. Eli Van Thier. If you're watching this, it means they finally crossed the line." He stared dead into the lens. "You don't fire first. You never do. But if they erase another Terran colony, if they burn another peace envoy, then activate the Revenant." He paused. "They don't fear us. That was always the point. That was the mistake." The screen glitche. Then resumed. They laughed at how small Earth's fleet was. What they never asked is why we kept it small. And then it ended in Dominion space. Another system went dark. No warnings. No battle. Just silence. Followed by a single message. On every frequency, the verdict is coming. The Dominion prepares for a war they no longer believe they can win. The human battleship moves without resistance, judging vanishing fleets without sound or explanation. As Earth finally activates its ancient protocols, the galaxy learns that the silence wasn't Earth being passive. It was Earth deciding who deserved to live. At first, they thought it was a coincidence. Systems going dark. Patrols lost. Comms scrambled. But now? Now they knew it was a sentence. And Earth was the judge. Strategist Kel sat alone in his quarters. Hunched over a data console, the lights were off. He hadn't ordered it that way. The power grid had failed again. But even in darkness he could see the shape of the war. He could see the irony of it all. We called ourselves masters of war, he whispered. He pulled up the last image received from the G777 sector. Not a warship. Not a fleet. Just a shadow in the stars. Massive, silent, shaped like the edge of a blade, drifting past a broken moon that no longer had orbit. He tapped the controls. The screen glitched. No damage report. No survivors. Just a timestamp and one line of human code. War isn't noise. It's what happens after the silence. In the Dominion's capital city, riots had begun. They weren't looting for food. They were looting for ships. Any vessel capable of flight, escape, distance from Earth, because the rumors had spread of Terran weapons buried in suns of A's trained. Not on enemy data, but galactic morality. And worst of all, the Revenant hadn't even fired. It had looked and decided. Aboard the TNS Revenant, Admiral Rain stood before the control core. Raziel spoke softly. Command link active. Dominion flagship Dravith's Wrath has ceased all movement. He nodded. They tried to speak yet? They've sent 206 messages. Translate any of them? They all say the same thing. Raziel paused, then repeated it. Please. Admiral Rain didn't smile. He didn't rage. He didn't gloat. He walked to the observation deck, where stars shimmered like glass. The Revenant moved toward the next system, not to conquer, not to punish. To correct. And deep in its core, it carried memories. Children turned to ash by orbital strikes. Envoys burned in their own ships, while waving white flags. Treaties signed and broken before the ink. Dry. Earth had waited. Not because it was weak, because it wanted to be sure. Inside the Dominions emergency war room, Counselor Threx leaned forward, sweat pooling in the folds of his robe. How many systems lost? Zorvik didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was barely a whisper. 17. Threx blinked. Destroyed? No, Zorvik said. Gone. Removed. Deleted from star maps. Our navigational AI doesn't even acknowledge they ever existed. Another counselor gasped. We're not being beaten, Threx said hollowly. We're being forgotten. The Dominion made one last attempt. They gathered a fleet, 1,000 ships. Strong? Everything they had left. Supercruisers, carriers, interceptors, frigates, automated. Drone clouds. They surrounded the Revenant. A perfect circle. No escape. No mercy. They sent a final warning. Surrender Earth's warship, or we will reduce it to atoms. The Revenant didn't move. It simply opened its hull. Revealing nothing. No weapons. No launch bays. No fleet behind it. Just a message projected to every Dominion vessel at once. Do it. And they hesitated, because something felt wrong. This wasn't defiance. This wasn't suicide. This was invitation, a test. One ship fired. The projectile never hit. It never exploded. It just stopped. And was gone. Then the Revenant activated its core, not a weapon. A memory. Every Dominion vessel was flooded with footage, unfiltered, undeniable. A century of war crimes, civilian massacres, betrayals of peace treaties, laughing over burned Terran colonies, mocking Earth's morning silence. The ships didn't fire again. They shut down. Their crews wept. One by one. The Dominion fleet began to power itself off. The Revenant drifted. Between them. Silent. Unstoppable. Judging. Back on Earth. The last protocol activated. Not a missile. Not a declaration. A broadcast. To the entire galaxy. Admiral Rain's voice. No theatrics. Just truth. This is Earth. Pause. You made us build this. Pause. We asked for peace. You mocked it. We stayed out of war. You brought it to our doorstep. We let you forget us. Pause. Now you'll remember. Then it ended. Galactic transmission grids fell silent. Not because of jamming, because no one dared speak. Even rival empires shut their weapons down, because if Earth had waited this long, how many ships did it still have waiting? And if one battleship could undo the Dominion, what could Earth do when it actually responded? Some say the Dominion collapsed that day. Others say it erased itself out of shame. But those who survived, remember only this. The last time the Revenant was seen, it didn't fire. It just passed by. And left stars burning in its wake, not from fire, but from memory. Earth never claimed credit, never invaded, never asked for surrender. It went quiet again, but the galaxy wasn't the same. They still tell stories about the ship that looked like silence and moved like judgment. They call it a god. They call it a ghost. But the humans? They call it a warning. They thought Earth was quiet because it was weak. But Earth was quiet because it was watching.